The Everything Except the Law podcast is brought to you by Answering Legal. For more than a decade, attorneys have trusted our 24/7 virtual receptionist service to keep their phones covered and their clients cared for. Now, we're raising the bar with an AI-powered intake chatbot, live translation services in over 180 languages, and 76 seamless tech integrations. Our goal is to make running a law practice simpler while helping you capture every new client opportunity. And don't worry, our receptionist team is still the best in the business at turning first-time callers into loyal clients. Find out what's possible by visiting answeringlegal.com. You'll find a link to our site in the description of this episode. Let's get to the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Answering Legal's Everything Except the Law podcast. I am your host, Nick Werker. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we share expert advice on all the parts of running a law firm that attorneys weren't exactly trained for back in law school. I actually think we have one of the most perfect guests for that topic ever. In this episode, I'm excited to welcome a true legal industry legend. You may know him from his long-running practice, Ben Glass Law, or as the founder of the organization Great Legal Marketing. How we've gone this long without having him on our show, I do not know, but I'm very happy to be changing that today. I want to start out by thanking you. And this is why I didn't want to not thank you while we were recording.
Sure.
I had some things go wrong with me health-wise like 2 years ago. And I had tried CrossFit. I've done CrossFit in the past, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I was just out of shape, down, out, whatever. And I follow you on LinkedIn and you were talking about doing CrossFit and how much you love it. And it inspired me to go back to CrossFit. And now I am fully in the cult. I go every single day. I'm a member of a gym. I do it at home. I own all the equipment. It's a huge problem, but like the best type of problem. So I wanted to thank you for that inspiration specifically.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. But it sounded also like you had some good coaches, both in the way past and now, right? CrossFit is for everyone. So I'm probably the oldest person in the CrossFit side of our gym. And, when I retire from law, I'm probably going to coach and I just want to onboard the over 50 crowd, like introduce them to this cool thing, show them what the words mean and how you can scale everything and have fun. I call it PE class for old people.
It's one of my best friends that I made through CrossFit is, I won't age her and I won't say her name, but she's been a coach for 12 years.
Yeah.
I love her. And she's like all about the 50 plus, 60 plus boot camp, CrossFit, scaling everything. Actually suffered a stroke, like a freak stroke, heart defect stroke, and came back and was coaching and doing, some sort of therapy. I don't know if it's physical therapy. 7 days later after getting like the stroke treatment. So CrossFit's amazing.
I had triple bypass surgery just over 2 years ago, and I checked out of cardiac rehab early once I figured out everything was actually working because it was too boring. And I needed to get back to the gym. And, I didn't jump back into classes right away, but that's where my tribe was. Like one of my tribes is at the CrossFit gym. And so it was a lot more convenient to go there and rehab and reset everything to zero. And, here we are today. Like it's as fun as it has ever been.
It's crazy.
I'm blessed.
I have one more athletic thing to ask you because I think it's cool. And it is the World Cup, which I'm excited for. I love watching the World Cup. And then I'm a bad soccer fan. I used to be a good soccer fan. I'm a bad soccer fan. But you have been refereeing youth and high school soccer for a long time. If I ask you, not only what's your most memorable moment as a referee, but like, how hard is it to be? You have to run a lot.
So that second part. So I just did a game. Saturday was a 19-year-old boys game. It was not highly, highly competitive, but I did almost 4 miles in that. And so that's like a game that's a 90-minute game. Like I'll do around 4 miles. And you look on the tracker later. You walk, you sprint. I don't sprint that fast anymore, but you do. But the harder part really is, and I've written a book on this. Like you, a teenage soccer referee, is when you're a youngster, like getting through the beginning when you are, by definition, you can't be good at it until you have some experience. And yet the crazy, adults in the game are shepherding abuse on too many of our young referees. And so me and a whole bunch of my friends, like that is our fight to restore sanity to youth sports, not just in soccer, but across the youth sports spectrum. just by advocating for the kids, right, who are out there doing things that most adults, Nick, they would never, ever go behind a plate or on a basketball court or in the middle of a soccer field and try to, evaluate fouls and stuff. They just wouldn't do it.
My dad was one of those people, much to the chagrin of me and my teammates and my friends' parents. But that's a different story. I want to talk about great legal marketing because I have my own personal opinions on so many things, but I love what you guys do because I think I keep finding myself saying this recently, like what is old is new again. And a lot of what
Sure.
used to be, how do you say it? Plus got changed, plus whatever. I don't remember.
I don't know.
But it's like, I feel like there used to be no marketing advice. And now there's some good marketing advice and some terrible marketing advice for law firms. But when you started, was there like a huge appetite? Were people looking for this, or did you just kind of figure it out and see that people needed this?
No, there were people looking for this. So, we were the first ones, right, to bring to market like events that were not CLE events. They were about the business of law. And it's 21 years ago. And it's like, okay, how to make a better Yellow Page ad for personal injury attorneys. That's kind of what it was, right? How to become an author of a book. But I had been speaking and writing before GLM actually launched. And so I had a little bit of a tribe who immediately were very interested and joined, a very small mastermind group back in the beginning and started coming to events that were held in very small hotel rooms. So there was this untapped yearning. Lawyers thought like there's got to be a better way to do this, but I don't really know how. And there weren't a whole lot of books back then on how to build a practice. And many of them came from the established bar, so they weren't very good because they were so limiting. And today, no matter where you are as a law firm owner or as a lawyer, no matter where you are sort of on the spectrum, there's a place for you. Like there's a lot of good places. There's a lot of current discussions about new technology, but to your point, like the fundamentals have not changed. Since way before me, like hundreds of years back, it's all about human psychology. Who can you get to trust you? How do you do that? And every new media that we have, in a lot of digital media, if you don't understand the fundamentals, in my opinion, you're just going to waste your money. So you got to have this base knowledge. And that's what GLM does. GLM doesn't sell any products. We don't sell websites and marketing services. There are good people that do that. We help lawyers. Nick, if I can figure out where you are with your firm, where you'd like to go, what I do is I help people figure out what's the most efficient use of my next dollar or my next hour. Because there may be a lot of things that are down here, down the road that would be excellent for you, but not today because you don't have some of the base built up yet. And so many lawyers, I think the mistake they make is they want to skip to the fancy stuff, or they're lawyers are so willing to hand over their credit card without understanding anything about how you're going to track where those dollars go. And so it's work, but it's highly valuable.
So I am by nature a very paranoid person, extremely paranoid. I'm very difficult to sell things to because I'm just skeptical and I don't believe you. And truly, I really don't. I don't know why, but it does serve me in a lot of ways. I don't jump into things too quickly. I'm not super impulsive in that way. But I'm also I've been working with law firms for over a decade, and I don't know when I fell in love with law firms. I really do. I love lawyers. I love law firms, and I'm very protective of it because I've seen so many, bad interactions, sales, relationships over time, that my new thing is, and everybody on my team that works with me knows this, is I'm so wary and also critical of most companies that sell things specifically to lawyers, because like you said, I think it's very easy, not easy. I think it's an easy target. Is law firms have a good return on investment most of the time on on a signed case, and they have to spend a lot of money to get that signed case, which just means that like your percentage of managing spend or technology or anything like that, you could charge more for it. And you sell it under the guise of it being specialized. I've seen that so often that it's like ubiquitous. Like every marketing agency that I see is talking about law firms. That might just be like my algorithm talking.
Maybe, yes.
Listen, and I understand that.
If you were a dentist, you might say the same thing about the dental industry, which is another sort of rich with owners who are too sloppy with their credit cards.
And that's very similar. Is like dentists and lawyers. And I honestly don't even know any dentists besides the one who cleans my teeth, and I don't really know him that well. He's nice enough. I don't even know his name. But what I like most about your organization is what you're saying. It's not trying to sell anybody anything, and it's educational so that you know how to buy things and how not to get sold things that don't apply to you and pay like a higher sticker price for something that's just being like packaged as for law firms, even though it's totally generic.
Exactly. So your expressed fear or paranoia or hesitancy, I would argue, is largely based because you don't feel confident about evaluating the offer, right? You don't feel confident about how we're going to track the results. And so what we try to do is not only teach lawyers how to do that better, but when we get in rooms, like our mastermind group gets in room, we're having deep discussions about all these vendors and who's been good to who, and who inside a particular company is the person you really need to have their cell phone in order to be able to, fix the thing that may be bugging you. And so I think that's part of the value that we bring because we are agnostic as to vendors. Sure, we have vendors that Ben Glass Law uses, and a lot of people say, well, Ben, like, who are you using for digital marketing? Who are you using for, case management software and all that sort of stuff? We tell them. But Nick, I always tell people, look, if I like you, I'll talk about you. And if I don't like you, I'll talk about you. So if you want to do business with me as a vendor to the law firm, just know that I want a partnership. I want someone who's genuinely interested in my stuff, even though we're small compared to some of these. Obviously, we're very small compared to some of these giant firms, right? But I want somebody who cares, and heaven help you if I think that you're screwing me, or I think you're just lazy, or you don't have great people, because I will share that information. That's part of my responsibility. But on the other hand, boy, the teams that we like and we use and we spend a lot of money on technology, like we share that too. The other thing that Brian and I, my son, I think we're a total open book. Like we'll show local personal injury, quote unquote, competitors to us. Like, here's our whole playbook. Come in our mastermind group. Here's everything we're doing. Here's our numbers, by the way. Because the world is so big, there's so many cases out there, or else you wouldn't have these giant law firms, right? And if I show you something, you're going to do it in a different flavor, right? And by the time I show it to you, I've been doing it for a number of years, so I had this head start, right? So that's been, I think, another key difference. And things I've heard about some of these other groups is that you get in the room and people maybe aren't as open about what they're really doing as they could be.
That's interesting. I am in a very unique position where I talk to a lot of law firms and I try not to disclose their, like personal information or their numbers or anything that's going on with them but I do in like a vague sense talk about their problems and what I know that they're facing. And because I have a marketing background, obviously, and I manage a lot of spend, I manage a lot of ads. Yep. I take a look at some law firms' marketing. I don't do any law firm marketing, but like you said, I have who I know is full of shit and who I believe is not full of shit. And I make recommendations on what I believe would be a good fit based on where you are, what your goals are, so on and so forth. But I want to ask you, because here's the thing that I do face is law firms will often ask me, I'll give you a really good example. How much should I be spending on Google ads? It's a loaded question, very loaded question. And I'm like, My first question is usually, why Google Ads? Why are you asking me specifically about Google Ads? Oh, well, I know that it's the major thing and there's been so many changes. And I have my competitor friend who refers me cases, and he says Google Ads makes him X, Y, and Z. I don't even really want to go all the way down into that conversation, but I'm curious, what are the questions that you see, or the topics that you guys cover recently in Great Legal Marketing?
Well, all sorts of topics, but just to the question you raised, that's only a version of how much money should I be spending on marketing, which I've always thought like that's an irrelevant number if you don't have any other information. And so, but to your current question, obviously, so Great Legal Marketing has grown from the very first days of teaching PI lawyers how to get more cases to really, how do you build a law firm that serves your life, makes everybody happy? And so time and time again, the topics that we discuss at our highest level are people issues, like how do you get good people? And what are the various compensation schemes that you can have for lawyers and non-lawyers, like in your firm? How do you attract them and keep them? How do you build culture? Because over time, if the train is running and everybody on the train is aligned behind the mission, it just makes everything else so much easier. And so while Great Legal Marketing, like we never changed the name because why would I, right? I'm old now. But that's probably the most frequent topic in our mastermind meeting. And because the lawyers don't have any other place they can pose that question, any other safe place. And so what goes on inside the meeting stays inside the meeting. For sure. And people have different levels of comfort with disclosure. So that's number one. Obviously AI. And Nick, like, it's so cool to be me because I've lived through the revolution of, we went from books on shelves to online legal research. We went to to computers. Like I practiced before computers. We went to the internet writ large, went to the internet as a marketing tool. And now we have this AI thing, which really, that word AI, so many people are like, oh, it's all about like writing briefs of hallucinations. That's like tiny bit, right? But it's all the different ways. And for a plaintiff's contingent fee firm, it has dramatically made us more efficient because we can wrap our arms around the evidence much quicker and get to doing our art. Like the lawyer's art is to strategize about the client's opportunity or the client's challenges, no matter what the practice area is. So the quicker we can get to that, right, and have the lawyer focus on what he or she is like born to do, then the better it is for the client, the better it is for the law firm, all that. And AI has really helped us to be able to do that. And then I think the third topic always is like the digital marketing space. Brian and I are running a boot camp here next week as we record this. And, Guy and Conrad and a bunch of other big names in the digital space will be here because you look around and everybody seems to be doing it, as you said, like Google Ads or Google My Business Profiles or a website, or do I build 2 websites? All of that. How do I show up now? It used to be, how do I show up on the front page of Google? Now it's like, how do I show up in ChatGPT? Who knows? Who knows? So those are the topics. It's people, it's AI, and it's digital marketing as really the top 3 things that are discussed at our conferences and in our mastermind groups. And we have monthly group calls as well.
I have not always, I shouldn't say I've always. In the last few years, I have learned that I used to think marketing was all creativity because I was heavily invested in SEO and writing blogs and optimization, all that. Now I know. Yeah. Now I know marketing is just operations. It's just I get a bunch of information about what's going on and I tell other people, and then I fix up sales, or I fix up the CRM, or I fix up, it's funny to me that people will go to an organization for great legal marketing and be like, how do I hire better people and build a culture? And like they have so many questions that go alongside of marketing, but it's just operations. Everybody wants to know how to run a better law firm or a better business. Like you said, that makes that makes your life easier and improves your quality of life. That's really it.
100%. But then you get to, all right, so then in a big topic in our firm is the data clean? Like, we're going to make decisions based upon data. And it's one of the things in the last 36 months, we've really upped our game on the quality of the data we think that we are collecting, right? Through all of these tools that are out there. And don't even ask me what our tech stack is, because I don't know all of the tech stack, but I know that I've got a full-time person who's like, her main job is to analyze for every call that comes in, like, why the heck did they pick us, and where did that thing end up, and what could we do to whatever that source was? If it's a good case, what can we do to boost that source, whether it's a human being? And by the way, probably 83% of our dollars come in the law firm, Nick, because someone mentioned my name or Brian's name or the firm's name. So it starts with a human being. They may then go through our digital tools out there, profiles, of course, but we have extensive relationships. This firm is built upon human being connection. And that's a lot of what we teach at Great Legal Marketing. Why? Because it's very hard for most lawyers, if you're going to compete on a spend, Google ad spend. Wow, there's firms that are, the multiples aren't even like, it would take too many zeros across the page, right? So the human, and it's the harder thing today. Human beings, human conversations, building human trust is hard because we don't practice it enough anymore. Everything is like this. Everything is on Zoom or Riverside.
So is that like the first thing that you would recommend? Because I hear a lot of advice when you start your law firm and you're looking for cases. And there's a lot of people who are very successful now who have a lot of good advice on how they started. Would that be what you recommend, is just focus on your relationships?
100%. So Dan Kennedy, many other famous marketers, like the money is in the list, right? And so lawyers have gotten pretty good at, okay, now we have computerized case management systems and all our clients are in there. But I haven't seen a whole lot who've got separate CRMs or use their CRM differently to manage referral partners. And we're really good at that. And we send a lot of direct mail every month. That's interesting to our referral partners, both in long-term disability and in the personal injury space. And that's the thing anybody could do, Nick, because even if you're just starting out, there's a letter that you can write to your 10 friends. If you only had 10 friends who are in the legal space or legal adjacent, right? Some other professional who's got your next client, to say, hey, I'm starting out. I see you do this, Nick. You do these 3 things. Like, what kind of clients or customers are you looking for? How could I help you? And that's a fundamental precept of Ben Glass. Like, ask, what can I do for you first? Like, let's put energy into the world first. And just build on that, right? And in the old days, it was literally note cards, and it went to some I had 100 years ago, a software called, like Mailroom or something. It was a very simple spreadsheet database where it could just put names in and tag them and make notes. Now today there's a lot of sophisticated stuff, but yes. And then we use a lot of direct mail, number 1. Number 2 is personal showing up, like speaking events, doing podcasts, showing up and having coffee. But if I'm going to have coffee with you, Nick, I'm not talking about me. I want to talk about you, because you would love to talk about yourself. That's what we like as human beings. We love to be asked questions and talk about ourselves. Like this podcast right now, it's really fun for me, right? I know it's a little bit heavier lift for you, but having these conversations where you are genuinely interested in what the other person is doing, and you could ask about the business and what their challenges are and stuff like that. This is what brings us together and makes you memorable, because a lot of people, Nick, like, who refer us cases, like, I'm not really sure. I don't remember exactly what Ben and Brian do, but I trust them and they're lawyers. So call them, and they'll have a referral for you if they don't do what the person needs. So that's anybody can do that. The problem is it's so simple that people like, how could printed newsletters work? Like, isn't that old? Like, well, it might be the only thing that shows up in somebody's mailbox these days. We publish an 8-page printed full color newsletter put together by our team that's, 15% legal stuff and 85% dogs, cats, and trips we've been on.
But that's more fun. And I've been known to say that if I'm not having fun, I don't want to do it. And
100%.
So I try to make my job fun, even though what I am is a very corporate marketing executive. And so I don't really do a ton of marketing anymore. I do a bunch of leading. I do a bunch of training. I'm in a lot of meetings with people where I tell them where I think we should go. And one of the things that has been really cool, and thank you for validating me, by the way, because what I try to do these days is just have conversations with a lot of people like you. And it's because
Yes.
I personally am not, I don't care about outcomes. I like to have a good time while I'm doing things. I like to get paid so that I can do and afford things in my life. And I really, really like to help people. And most of that comes from the people on my team that I manage and work with. But I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people in marketing, in PR, masterminds, name it, people that help law firms that I actually like and then sort of evaluate, right? I told you I'm paranoid. I met someone recently who was introduced to me by a video company that I have a very good relationship with. The video company guy does not work with lawyers. He just shoots videos. He was at a business conference. He was talking to somebody. He's like, you should meet this guy, Nick. Introduces me over email. I meet with this person. And today, just before I got on this, and this is why I like this so much. I'm not a salesman. I'm the worst salesman in the entire world because I'll never ask you to buy anything from me. I just don't do it. If you want to buy it, go ahead. But I'll tell you about it, and that's fine. I got an email introducing me to a law firm. I know nothing about this law firm. From this person that I met a few months ago, just had a nice half-hour Zoom call with where we talked about life and helping law firms and our unique problems. And they're like, hey, can we schedule a meeting to talk with you? Because I didn't say I'll put you in a meeting with a salesperson. I said, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and talk about what you need and what your problems are. And if you want to go sign up and do that, be my guest. But I'm not facilitating that because, like I said, maybe I should care, but I kind of don't. And it's not that I don't care. It's I'm not, that's not my focus, truly.
Here's where the caring part would come in and where I would phrase it slightly differently for you. And I ask lawyers this all the time. It's I'll ask them, are you a good lawyer? Well, they're all going to say yes. And they'll say, Nick, is there someone in your town right now walking around with a problem or an opportunity for whom you would be the best solution and this would be a good client for you? Yes. Okay, why would you let them wander into somebody else's law office? And so now when you have a team in the law firm and a sales team in a law firm that is, as it go back, truly behind the mission and believes that for the couple of things that Brian and Ben do, we are the right choice. We are going to deliver a better legal experience, a better quality client experience. And our salesperson says she's personally offended if someone who meets the match doesn't hire us, right? And so that's the slight shift, because you've got something that's perfect for some and isn't going to be right for most, right? And we want people, we want to be able to have that confidence and deliver that message that yeah, I just don't want you to go wander into, like you said, some other person selling you stuff who doesn't have your best interests in mind.
I think you're right. I think that's a better way to look at it, because I think what I'm trying to say is that my main objective is to help the person, not sell them something that they don't need. And so if I can find out
100%.
if they do need it,
yeah,
then that's cool. But it's I don't care if they tell me that they don't need it. Does it make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
I think you're totally right.
But, if you think of things that you have purchased that have changed your life in a significant way, like maybe you're a golfer and you've got a great driver or putter, whatever, right? Or a car or something. Well, you're happy that somebody on the other end of that transaction helped you make the decision to buy that thing, right? And so I think it's not only is it perfectly fair, it's the right thing to do. Like in the ERISA long-term disability space, if it's a fit for us, there's not many firms that, honestly, and this sounds like bragging, there's not many firms that can match our record of achievement and our longevity, and I would say our common sense about this whole thing, right? And so we are unabashedly not afraid to say, look, anybody can put AI slop up on a website, make it look like they have experience in doing this space. Here's our actual cases. Here's our reported federal appellate court and district court cases that actually made a difference for claimants as a whole. Here's our stuff. Now just go ask anybody else who you're talking to for their stuff and then make a decision. Because we're not the cheapest either, right? So we want to move them away from thinking about the price or the cost of this to say, look, you're in the right place when you're with us. And I think, and to a broader point, Nick, like every lawyer has that or should have it. And if they don't, they got to figure out like, what can I do to be so confident to actually be able to say that and to deliver it? And the space that most lawyers can do that or make the most improvement quickly is customer service, client service, because lawyers generally suck at that, right? And so that's relatively, and now you get back to culture, and now you get back to people, and that's why those are the top discussions we have. Because at the end of the day, Nick can't be the one on the phone with everybody. You can't be having coffee with everybody. You need to have a team that's like truly thinks that this is the place to be for the right customer, right?
That's interesting because it does start with the top. I had a therapist for a while who, you go through things in life and eventually you foster or you grow a connection with a person that you're having deep conversations with. And she confided in me that she had a rough growing up because her father used to tell her, which I thought was so funny and ironic. So she was like the oldest in the family, and if the younger siblings would misbehave or something, her father would tell her, the fish rots at the head, meaning that she was somehow the responsible party for why things were so wrong. And I was just like, are you not the fish head in that scenario? And I actually don't think this. I think you're right, because most law firm owners I meet are really genuinely good people. And maybe just ignorant in a few areas, because aren't we all? Like, I don't know anything about the law. I'm not going to do that, but I could tell you about a bunch of marketing and tech and business relationship type of thing. I think it's like a management and a leadership thing. So I think this ties into the question that I want to ask you, because you always talk about happiness and increasing your own happiness. How do you, because I think that looks different for other people or for law firm owners in general. What's like what you recommend in order to increase the odds of like happiness in law firm ownership?
So number one, you have to divorce yourself from the message of the status quo, which is, yes, your life sucks, but that's what you signed up for. You signed up to be a lawyer. And this is the established bar. That's mainly their message. And even to the extent that they have lawyer wellness programs, they really don't know what to do. So we have to give ourselves permission to reject that type of thinking. Now, how do you do that? Nick, you got to get into rooms of other people, lawyers, but also for me, a big change was when I got into rooms of non-lawyer entrepreneurs. And you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. So when you start to see, for example, you come to Great Legal Marketing, you can find a lot of happy lawyers, different practices, different incomes, different family situations, all that, but most generally saying, but I kind of like the gig that I'm in, right? And so when you realize that there's lawyers who think like that, first, now I give myself permission to do that. That is a big step. That's the mindset block. That being a lawyer is supposed to suck and be a lot of pressure and all that stuff. Next thing you do is you really give yourself permission to craft out, write down on paper, like what would perfect look like? You might not be able to get there today, but if you can describe to me what perfect is like for you and kind of where you and your firm are today, what do we get back to? All right, Nick, here's the next thing I would do with my next dollar and my next hour to move towards that, right? And so I don't have a therapist, but I've got a mindset coach. I've had him for 12 years, probably. Sammy Chong out of Toronto. Sammy says, look, the clearer that we can articulate for ourselves and then put out into the universe what perfect would be like for us, then the more often we'll be able to see opportunity when it comes, right? And you start with a simple exercise of, the 4 quadrants, stuff I hate and I don't like, stuff I'm not good at and I hate doing. Get them out of your life and recognize that for everything that's in that box, there's somebody in the world, there's a worldwide economy now, whose life would light up doing the things you hate doing. And if you get rid of just those things, then your happiness index goes up a little bit. Now, look, you're not going to rebuild this overnight for sure. And one of the biggest things that Brian and I had to do when we started to get serious about building Ben Glass Law and really exploding it was people, right? And the people that were with us and had traveled with us to a certain level were not the people that were going to travel with us to the next level. That's neither good nor bad. That just is. That is just life. And the quicker that owners can figure out who those people are and help them find a great place for themselves that's not your law firm, then the quicker we believe you're going to be able to move towards a higher happiness index for you. So it's giving yourself permission. It's knowing, it's visioning what that would look like, even if you think it's impossible. Like, I don't know how to get there. I don't have enough money. Somebody has gone on that path. We just got to get you hooked up with that person for some ideas.
I did a similar thing. Like I told you, I went through like a wellness thing, which I'm so grateful for. It's so funny. And I will say this, that I was not well for a while. And you would think that I would look back on that time and be upset that it happened or like never want to experience that again. I am so grateful that I went through all of that stuff because of where I ended up. And I did not the same thing. I didn't do it in a professional sense, but I was desperate. I would do anything, including being really out of shape and going to a CrossFit class and being the only person in a CrossFit class, just dying, sucking wind, laying on the ground of this poor guy's gym.
You weren't the only one. I guarantee you weren't the only one. But yeah, I know that feeling.
No, I was literally the only person in the class. Feeling. I was actually, I was one, I don't know why, I just happened to be, which like was devoid of community, right? You go there for community and I toughed it out. I bought a journal I swear to God, on the TikTok shop. And I used to buy things on the TikTok shop. I don't anymore because it's dangerous and addicting. I buy this journal and the initial exercises are what do you currently not like about yourself? And you write it all out. And then what would it look like to change that? And what do you think that you could become if you allowed yourself or gave yourself permission to work on those things? And for me, that was like, I wanted to be better professionally. I wanted to be a better husband. I really wanted to get in good shape. I wanted to learn new things. I want to be somebody who reads books and gets educated and enjoys talking to people. And wouldn't you know? And I went through this exercise. I did the journal every night. I did what I said I was going to do for the most part. I'm not perfect. And there's checklists, right? You do the daily accountability shit. At the end of this thing, I don't recognize the person that I was. I truly feel bad I pity the person who filled out the original survey of what I was and then what I got to be. And that's what I imagine can happen for somebody who goes to Great Legal Marketing, because I do imagine that you get to help people who show up as these lawyers who say, like, this is what I signed up for, the 18-hour days, the soul-crushing work, I'm miserable, I'm alone, no one can, you know what I mean? Like, do you see that a lot?
I do. Yes, we hear that a lot. And it's really gratifying, Nick, to hear that from older lawyers. Like, he'll say to me, hey, Ben, like for the first time in decades, like I'm happy. But let me just go back to your story, because I don't know how often you tell that story, but you should be telling that story every single opportunity you have, because there's somebody there, Nick, who will hear that, who you don't even know, and they may not even appreciate it in the moment. But just that story can change their life because they can see the possible, right? And I don't know, when you started the journaling, whether you thought that was actually possible or you just like, all right, I got nothing else to do, let me try this, okay? But those are the stories that need to be told, taught, I think in high school, in college, like we don't do enough of this personal development training, instruction, and showing like how people have done these. But yes, this is what happens oftentimes when people come to us. Now, they come to us, you have to be kind of open-minded anyway to be searching for something like us, to be investing with us, to be a member, or to show up at our events and things like that. And I really like it when the lawyer and his or her spouse comes too, because the spouse is like, holy shit, like this is really hard. Like I didn't really sign up. I didn't sign up for this, to be married to someone who's miserable in his or her profession, right? That's not great. And when they get in the room, when the non-lawyer spouse gets in the room and sees and hears the messages, that can be a big boost to the person who is trying to change and trying to move from unhappiness to some version of joy. And look, let's not fool anybody. This is work. It's why mastermind groups exist, in part because there is some level of accountability. Everything in a mastermind group is, Nick, you always find out like that guy over there that I thought was really smart. Well, he is really smart in some things, but he is horribly dysfunctional in another. And so you find that people are normal. Like everybody has a crutch. Everybody has something that they're weak at or shy or something. And you wouldn't know that by looking on Facebook or TikTok, right? Everybody's got their stuff together. And so there's high value in getting in a trusted group to share wins, losses, and to be able to brag, because there's very few places where we can go to brag about it. And bragging is important. Like sharing your success with others who will then cheer for you and not say, well, you make too much money, you should pay more taxes, right? That's an important part of life as well. And so, we offer that. Again, there's a lot of great groups out there these days that are offering some version of this. I think what makes us different is that we are untethered from any particular vendor, or, you don't get on our stage just because you're paying to play and things like that, which I think, happens in some places.
I have heard tell of such a thing, and I've been offered such a thing. So I can tell you that exists.
Yeah. Depends on the group.
Anyway, seriously, earnestly, thank you so much for joining me today. It's truly wonderful to meet you. And how do people join Great Legal Marketing? Like, how can they get invited? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work?
So we have a number of things going on, and they can always go to greatlegalmarketing.com and at least start to get on our email list. Brian and I host 3 or 4 events in our offices each year. And then we have a big 3-ring circus in October, the Great Legal Marketing Summit. So glmsummit.com has that. I think you go first and you get from Amazon, Renegade Lawyer Marketing book, Renegade Lawyer Marketing. If you like the philosophy, then you'll like what's behind the curtain. If you don't like the philosophical bent, which is success and giving yourself permission and going up against the status quo and, finding your own life, which we think is pretty cool, but not everybody lawyers know, then nothing else behind the curtain will help you, right? Because those are just tools. The most important tool is your brain and your mindset, and giving yourself permission, I think, Nick, to build something that fits you and your family first. Here's what we believe. If the lawyer and the family is good and the team is good, the clients will be well served. But it goes in that order. The client isn't at the top. The client is third in the list. And that's Renegade thinking as well, right?
My favorite thing that I tell my wife is that I have to put the mask on first. I have to go be well, and then that increases my capacity for everything else. So I think I would enjoy your book very much, even though I am not a law firm marketer. But it's probably, what would you call that? What's the word for it? It translates. I don't know.
It's universal principles of persuasion, which most lawyers should be interested in anyway, because they're in front of juries or judges or opponents or whatever. So it's all about human psychology tied to building a law firm. But we could put dentistry, or I've got a friend who's a coach to pastors. It's the same book, right? If you believe that you run a house of worship where people should be coming and because you got a good message, then strategies are the same, right? It's just, for profit, not for profit. That's different. But Yeah, look, the basics still work at the end of the day. The basics are hard work. And there's definitely I don't want to say a formula, but there's a foundational way to build your firm through marketing. And you can then get to the point, if you want, where now you're spending money on the broadcast, the billboards, the more money into digital marketing, stuff like that. But a lot of us don't get there. We don't want to get there. We like our lives the way they are. We're making good money. We're coaching our kids. We're refereeing. We're doing athletics. We're, known in the community. And for us, that's really cool.
I think so too.
Yeah, man.
Ben, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, and we will be back with another episode of Everything Except the Law soon. Be sure to check out previous episodes of our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, which is new, and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. Links to everything covered in today's conversation can be found in the description of this episode, including Great Legal Marketing, the Summit, and Renegade Lawyer Marketing, the book. See you next time, everyone.